Today we will talk about the bicep and how it can be developed if you are a complete novice. First, we will take a look at the bicep anatomy. There are two muscles in the bicep, the short head, which is on the inside of your arm, and the long head, which is on the outside of your arm. Now, brachialis is also a part of the bicep, so it can be included in this as well. Second of all, we will take a look at the function. The bicep has three primary functions: elbow flexion, wrist pronation, and shoulder extension. Now let's see the differences in their activation. The short head is most activated when the elbow is in elbow flexion, wrist pronation, your arm is in front of the body, and when your shoulders are internally rotated. It is mostly a shortened and a pumped focus movement. And the long head, on the other hand, is also activated during elbow flexion, generally the shoulder is in an extended position. The arm is behind the body, shoulders are externally rotated, and it is mostly a lengthened and a stretched based movement. What should be kept in mind is when you're doing a bicep movement, both heads are working. However, the differences that I've explained earlier will determine which head is more dominant than the other. When you're beginning your bicep training, you should first prioritize the bicep short head as it has the most size potential. Its exercises will generally hit all of the heads more compared to the long head movements, and its exercises are simpler and they are easier to recover from in general cases, and it gives your bicep the width and the length. Now, there are a lot of movements that hit the bicep short head, but my personal recommendations would be the straight barbell curl, alternating dumbbell curl, which is my personal favorite, and lastly, the concentration curl. Now, there are some general strength standards, but before I explain them, I want to let you know that if two people can hit the same numbers on their bicep movements, they both will have reasonably different bicep developments. However, there are some generally accepted strength standards which, when they have been hit, most people have had reasonably efficient and satisfactory bicep development. Now, those strength standards are about a 50 kilogram or a 110-pound barbell curl, 23 kilograms or 50 pounds on the alternating dumbbell curl, 30 kilograms or 65 pounds on the concentration dumbbell curl. All these movements for about 10 reps and 2 to 3 sets. Once these can be hit, it can be expected that you will have achieved most of your potential bicep gains. Although some people have gone up to a 60 kilogram barbell curl, which is about 135 pounds, and even up to 30 and even 35 kilos on the dumbbell curls, which is about 65 to 80 pounds, and the results have been reflective of such incredible numbers. In some cases, the major bicep movements that have been mentioned before are enough for overall bicep development. But for some of you, your peak of the bicep from the outside is going to be weak in comparison to the overall bicep size. In that case, direct long head work would be needed. And in its benefit is that it will give you a better bicep peak, especially from the outside, and it will also contribute to the overall bicep size. And another bonus would be that it is a good movement for the bicep tendon, as it targets the part of the bicep that is connected closest to the tendon. My personal recommendations for this would be the incline dumbbell curls, preacher curl with the barbell or dumbbells, bodyweight pelican curls, and drag curls. Now, personally, drag curls is not really something I prefer doing, but I have seen people perform this movement and the results have been good. Just like for the short head, some general strength standards for the bicep long head would be a 20 kilogram or a 45-pound dumbbell for the incline curl, a 45 kilogram or a 100-pound barbell for the preacher curls, and achieving your body weight on the pelican curls. If you can hit these numbers for about 10 reps for 2 to 3 sets, then it can be expected that for the very least, your bicep would be above 16 inches, maybe even close to 17 or 18 if done properly. If your triceps are also grown in proportion. However, many people have lifted bigger numbers on these movements and their results have been reflective of such strength standards. Now, generally, at this point, the brachialis muscle will be reasonably developed on your arm, as it is impossible for the brachialis to not be stimulated from the short head and the long head movements. But it would not be a bad idea to start incorporating brachialis exercises as the arm width, the arm peak, and the separation of bicep and tricep is mostly due to the maximization of this muscle. The brachialis is located on the side and under the bicep, on the outer side and under the bicep, and it is also a great movement for general elbow health. And such movements will even develop the brachioradialis, which is on the forearm, and if grown, it will also give a great look, especially if your sleeves are rolled up. Now, there are a lot of amazing movements for the brachialis, but my best recommendations would be hammer curls and reverse curls, which can be done on dumbbells, barbells, or even machines. They can even be performed on the preacher bench if that is something you prefer. Now, both the hammer curl movement and the reverse curl movement will target the brachialis and the brachioradialis, but the hammer curl will slightly bias the brachialis more, and the reverse curl will slightly bias the brachioradialis more. You can do anyone, but they have their slight biases. Unlike the earlier movements, I do not have many strength standards for them, as it is fairly easy to go much heavy on the hammer curls, and on the reverse curls, if progression is obsessed over, then form breakdown is quite easy and you can unknowingly turn it into some kind of a power clean rather than a reverse curl. But if they are done reasonably well, then progression is possible on them and it will be reflective on your size. Now, let's talk about the sets, reps, and volume frequency. Initially, just 3 working sets are enough, but as time goes by, progression will become slower. At that point, you can slowly increase your sets as needed, but generally, 9 to 12 weekly sets are quite enough, and they should be divided between 1 to 3 times for frequency, with 2 being the best. For biceps, my personal favorite rep range for the short head is about 6 to 10 reps, and for the long head, about 8 to 12 reps, as it is easier to go heavy on the short head because it is a shortened pumped base movement and your biceps can recover fairly easier. And the long head is a muscle which is a bit more sensitive and can be overworked a bit more easily. Though the tendon can be strengthened if full range of motion is kept with a good form and ego lifting is avoided. However, the bulk of your sets should be given to your short head as it is a bit more spammable movement as mentioned before. As the long head movement should have reasonably restricted sets, but one should not be afraid to go too low on them. Now, I believe that if this advice is followed, then from 1 to 2 years, one can expect reasonably impressive bicep gains. So, that is all for today. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.